Welcome to the Big Biz Show. Taking care of business. You want fast-talking, hard-hitting discussions on business and finance? Maybe with a barroom slant and some really salty peanuts? We're not counting calories. We're counting cash. Before we get to the man with the financial plan, meet the money team. Costa, Mary, and Greg. Now Captain Finance himself, Sully.
From the Loft 100 studios, wherever you're watching or listening, thank you for being along for this crazy ride. All these crazy kids. Everyone's breaking out at the same time.
Big bang of the big
Costa, Barry Godwin, Greg Todoroff,
great time.
and of course Sully.
Can I ask you this? When you see yourself on camera,
Oh boy.
if you look at your face, you're doing okay. But I tend to look immediately right here, or the back of my neck.
Same with me.
The back of my neck looks like a six-pack of hot dogs in that thing there. That was.
Yeah, I look like I'm about 8 months.
I can't ever
Your
hide
eyebrows could not be higher.
I can never hide my inner monologue.
Well, I was
all here.
I was
I'm
a taco shy of 150 a few months ago, and now I've lost a couple of weight.
So now it's not a full hot dog pack.
It's just one big sausage. So when you look at yourself, do you tend?
I hate myself.
Is that your
I
face?
hate myself.
How often do you
Is that your
look
face, or did your neck
Mike?
blow a bubble?
Say it.
Greg, have you ever thought about what you eat, or does it matter? Like you?
Oh my
You
God.
got it all the time.
Have you seen your
Yeah,
feet? Have you seen your feet your entire life?
Yes, he has.
It's a recent,
Yep.
'cause it's a recent
Yep.
thing for me. Like, hey,
Yeah.
now I know I'm so popular. Yeah, so you don't get it. You don't get the fact that, James,
I do.
obese people like James are.
Yeah.
Why does
Can you say hi to the DTT, please?
Hi, DTT. How are you? Nailed it.
My faves.
Why does the camera add 10? I don't get it.
Because you
It's-
have 8 cameras on you.
Maybe is that what it is? Our mutual friend Dave Palais, who is the devil incarnate.
The world's nicest guy on
Only because he's a Dodgers fan.
on sideline
Right.
sports or
Yeah.
side out sports or
Yeah.
timeout sports.
Side off, offside
You owe me
sports.
money sports or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He always says, he goes, hey, Cy on the Sully Show, Cy on TV today. Did you get stung by a bunch of bees? And I just, every single time it kills me. And
Mary, you are beautiful on TV. You have no problem looking at yourself, right?
Oh, I absolutely do. Of course, yes.
Really?
And I don't like hearing my voice.
But what do you look at? Because if you just look at your
You know
face.
what I mean? The sound of my voice.
But if you just look at your face, I look pretty good. But I don't I'm like.
I have certain angles.
I'm looking
There's
at.
like one angle you can only stick this side, and then I'm good.
Oh, is that
Once
your-
you go
is that your
straight
side?
on, forget about it.
There was a time I was just looking at moobs,
yeah.
and they were Rusties. Howie Font's with us.
Miss Rusty.
Captain Crash, what's up, buddy? Oh my goodness. So we are.
Captain Crash.
What an intro, huh?
Howie is.
Welcome, Howie.
Degenerated.
Howie
Okay.
is a shadow of his former self.
He likes to see himself.
Yeah. Well, Howie's a handsome young man.
I know.
So handsome.
My philosophy is if we get behind Howie and fund him and he becomes president, we will rule the world.
Yeah,
we're
do
in.
it.
We're in.
Story.
Yeah.
Start the campaign now.
Howard, we got 2 weeks before the election. Is there anything that could cause a hitch to the giddy up in terms of stock or anything like that in the meantime? Or are we just pretty much through it?
No, I mean, viewers, daily viewers are going to get tired of the election coverage, but I'm all for it. We only have 2 weeks, so sorry, people. That's the news.
Do you know why? Do you know why, Howie? It's Trump.
Why?
It's Trump time. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you seen Donald Trump talk about his golden shoes?
No.
Oh, he doubles down on everything. They love my golden shoes. They're still talking about it. Like, and now he's got watches coming out.
Got it all.
And
Coins, watches.
You know why? Because it's Trump time.
Yes, it is.
They're made in China. So do you think, Howie, here's my concern. Here's my concern is that Kamala Harris represents the status quo and we're going to have a nice calm next 4 years with nothing happening. Donald Trump's going to have so much rancor. There's going to be 6 assassination attempts. It's going to be just ugly again, don't you think?
I hope
Either
not.
way.
I think it's definitely a more action-packed congressional session for sure. I won't speak to the news of it, but yeah, it seems like the rancor is there.
He got shot in the ear. It's the greatest shot in the ear in the history.
It bleeds. The ear bleeds more than you would think.
And fairly, if you were to shoot a gun from the West Coast just east,
Yeah.
there's a 50-50 you're going to hit his ear.
Does he have big
It
ears?
wasn't that great a shot.
Does he have big ears?
I think he covers them well.
Orange is the new obnoxious. Big Biz Show. BigBizShow.com. I'm voting for Roosevelt. Dewey or something like that. Right, we're back to one step. More Howie.
We continue the Loft 100 Studios, wherever you're watching, wherever you are in this wide world of ours. Welcome back to the Big Biz Show. Our executive producer is Greg Todorov, that handsome gent right there. I'm Costa, standing in for Sully. Of course, the gentleman on stage, best in the business. Day Trader Trio. Always along for the ride with us as well. Thanks, guys. Our market analyst is Howie Font. He is back with us. Here, we are talking about Trace is in the background doing jazz hands as the music comes on for Howie. Howie, the theater world and how AMC is trying to, I guess, stay relevant, stay afloat. How would you describe them with the changes they're making?
I think it's important to talk about it in the context of inflation, right? So the normal theater demands what, like a $8-9 ticket?
Yeah.
You're not getting into a 4D premium seat for $17 on average nationally. So it has to do with that. And then I just note, some things are really stable, rice or something like consumer staples. But tuition for colleges and apparently movie tickets have increased, 129% over and above inflation. In the last 25. I think I told you guys 35. It's the last 25 years.
Wow. So it is
put inflation on top of everything, and then 130%.
Exactly.
So,
but isn't stuff like going to the movies or we always say fast food dining out? Aren't those the first things that normally we as consumers cut when the belt tightening has to take place, like we might be experiencing right now in our country?
No, I mean, I think that's exactly right. And that's why they're, one, so cyclical as businesses, really dependent on the consumer, as you said, so really dependent on the macroeconomy. And then two, the box office in general is going down, so they have to charge higher and higher ticket prices just to kind of maintain the levels. I mean, we're not back to where we were in terms of box office compared to pre-pandemic, 2019. So will they ever recover? Will it ever be the same? You have streaming now. I just thought it was a good example to see, what the average consumer could have done a decade or two ago that is getting more and more out of reach now.
Well, Howie Font is our Big Biz Show market analyst with us here. Howie, the NFL, NHL, NBA, Major League Baseball will never be able to catch up to or surpass the home experience. I mean, you've got people like us who love to go to games once in a while, that type of thing, but being at your own house, using your own clean bathroom, buying your own less expensive beer or food and stuff, the sporting leagues, the major league sporting leagues and collegiates, college athletics for that matter, they'll never be able to surpass that. And do you think movie theaters, movie chains, those type of movie houses know that's kind of what they're competing with, that the home experience, streaming, whatever, having it at your fingertips is something that they'll never be able to catch?
Yeah, I think the middle section of product offerings is always going to be squeezed. So you have the really, really cheap option that gets you in the door, the minimum, and then it only makes sense to do the high margin, really nice experience. I'm going out because this is an event. I want to go to the movies because, they're going to treat me right. I like the chair. This is a big movie for me. But if it's just another thing that I'm going to watch on a Tuesday night, I guess I'll just use the streaming service. Or, with sports, you go to the Super Bowl, you don't go to some, third-rate college.
If you're going to spend your money, you're right. Spend your money on the big ticket that you're going to remember instead of just some arbitrary game. We've been talking about tariffs. We've been talking about recession. We've been talking about inflation. Financially right now in this country, should we, as consumers, be thinking it's going to get better or it's going to get worse before it gets better?
Yeah, I mean that's an interesting question. I think if you're in one of these protected industries, you're going to have a couple good years. So we talked a couple months ago about the ports. They have
Yeah.
new deals that are protecting their salaries for the next couple of years. The auto workers unions right now are very, very happy because of the tariff conversation. So if you've been in a kind of beat up industry, then you might see a couple of years of relief. If you don't believe the tariffs are long term going to work or be part of anything, that's a one time boost and then it's going away. And then all those boosts come at the expense of everyone in general in terms of prices. So, if the price of all food goes down by 5% in the country, that's a savings to everyone in the country. But if you make more money and everyone else's food prices go up, yes, you are better off, but it's a balancing act. So that's kind of the dynamic that's happening here.
The tariffs that Canada and Mexico, China for that matter, levy against us, or we know there's a trade deficit. It's grossly unfair. The tariffs that President Trump and his administration are going to or have already levied against those three countries. We hear Canada talking tough. Oh, it doesn't matter. We'll be fine. Mexico doesn't matter. We'll be fine. China says the same thing. But how rough will it get for them if these are prolonged, in your estimation?
Yeah, so one of the advantages that we have, and one of the reasons why this is a good fight to pick for the US, notwithstanding the market reaction, is we're a services-based industry. We do things for each other, and that's how we make money and move our economy. We don't make stuff to the extent that China and Mexico do. Canada's more similar to us, but they have some agricultural products and energy products that we definitely need and want. So it's really going to hurt a country like China that is very manufacturing dependent. Their whole economy is based on the prices of the stuff that they sell to us and the rest of the world, and we're their biggest trading partner. So it's going to be a blow. And then for us, yeah, the reciprocal nature of the tariffs, I would hate to be on the other end. If you're a farmer and you have a 15% increase in prices in China, you're going to sell less soy and wheat to China, but they can't hurt us beyond that.
So in the case of, let's say, Canada and Mexico, who basically north and south of us are our next door neighbors, is it just a very quiet white flag, a back channel? Okay, we give up. We'll come back to the negotiating table with you guys. Or do you think those two countries are going to see how far they can go and really feel the sting, in fact, before they come to us and say, time to talk?
I think if there's one clear ask, if there's a definite proposal that's put forward by the Trump administration, they probably fight for just giving them 70% of what the administration asked for, and then they call it a day. I think everyone at the table right now, Europe, Mexico, Canada, even China, would be willing to have some sort of agreement if they knew what it was and if it wasn't going to change. I think what they have to really hunker down for, and this is what will keep them opposed to any kind of deal, is if the goalpost keeps changing, if we move the ask all the time, if it's not considered a stable agreement, if we're just going to do this again in 3 years. So that's what needs to change. If we have a solid ask, then I think we get it, because we're in such a strong situation.
He's our Big Biz Show market analyst, Howie Font, with us here. So Howie, we've seen how the markets respond to positive news. If we do have that day, and maybe it's going to be Liberation Day, who knows, from President Trump, but we get the day where Canada's playing ball, Mexico's playing ball, China, you really never know with China. But would you expect that the response from the markets will be staggeringly positive?
Right. So one of the things that Sully talks about when we talk about tariffs on the show is how he thinks Trump's in control of all this. And that's because Trump is the great disruptor.
Yes.
And what's causing all this is not really so much the tariff policies in and of themselves, but like I've said before, it's the uncertainty. And Trump has the ability, like no other person on the planet, to raise the level of uncertainty in the market and lower it. So if he lowers that level of uncertainty, we're going to see the market skyrocket. I don't know if that's a one-time thing. Then we'll be able to move on and see, the merits of the policies, and that'll carry the market even further. But that's kind of the easy control that he has. And like I was saying in last week's show or earlier in the week, it doesn't really much matter for Trump because he wants interest rates lower. I mean, he's going to think politically. We've talked about it before. We pay more on interest payments on our debt than we do for the Department of Defense. He wants interest rates to be lower, so that amount is lower. So if the economy has a bad quarter or two and the Fed has to lower rates, that's not bad for President Trump either.
It's really going to be interesting to see what he does, in fact, in his third term when he's the president of the United States.
He hasn't ruled it out.
Big Biz Show market analyst Howie Font. Howie, we'll talk to you soon, brother. Appreciate it. All right, don't you, anybody, none of you out there go anywhere. Big Biz Show returns after this. Big Biz Show rolling on from the Loft 100 studios. Hope everyone's having a great day. Thanks for being with us. That's the Day Trader Trio up on that stage. I'm Costa. Greg Todorov, our executive producer, and of course, Sully.
It's Ian Jenks, Chairman and CEO of Smartkem, stock symbol SMTK, who was on air with us via Zoom and came to the studio. Apparently, we were his good luck charm because right after he left us, he got to do something that very few people get to do. I'm going to bring him on right now. Ian, you've had a great 2 weeks, and we're going to take all the credit for being your good luck charm.
I think you absolutely should take all the credit, Sully, and the rest of the team. So I had a terrific week. So minding my own business at the Roth conference, you guys very kindly invited me to come down. So I came down, had a lovely time, went back, and there's a message at the hotel saying, get to New York. You're going to ring the opening bell on Friday.
I like that.
What?
There it is. Come on.
Oh, that's pretty awesome.
There it is, guys. There it is.
Fantastic.
And I have to tell you, thrill of a lifetime.
So how does that happen, first of all, and just off topic because I want to talk about the company, but describe that whole process when you show up. That's got to be an honor.
It is absolutely awesome. But you guys, you're used to television studios, so. No, I arrived there, you get met by the producer, and you've only had a couple of days' notice. So you end up going into a very expansive green room, and you've gathered your small team of people that you can take in at such short notice, and they tell you what's going on. And it's just so well organized. It runs absolutely seamlessly. You get to speak for 90 seconds, not 1 second longer, and then you get the countdown, and you hit the button and sign the screen, and then you go outside, middle of Times Square, and it's absolutely freaked me out. I was standing there, and behind me is an image of me 100 feet tall. I was very glad I'd used my concealer.
What's interesting is you uplisted just in March 2024, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, that
May of 2024, and so the way it works is that you get on the list, and the waiting list, believe it or not, can be up to 18 months.
Jeez.
And so when they ring you up and say, hey, we have a slot, then you take it.
Well, and they don't let you have that unless you're moving the ball down the field, so to speak. So
absolutely, and so I mean, they have a committee. The committee looks at it, sees how everybody's doing, sees what you're doing is interesting, and if you tick all of those boxes, then you get invited.
Hey, Ian, so you folks are moving the needle and actually the entire industry in terms of displays. I want to talk about the recent MOU sign, but for the folks that haven't seen you before on the air, give us a quick overview of what Smartkem does and how it's a little bit different than the rest of the industry real quickly so I can move on and talk about some of the things you've accomplished.
We make transistors out of polymers, and those polymers are unique and proprietary to us. So we make transistors, and we make them in huge sheets, so sort of by the square yard. They have some unique properties that allow them to drive the colored bits on a TV screen, and in particular, they allow us to make things called micro-LEDs. This is the next generation of displays. Now, it's what I call the next generation. We know it's going to happen because we all have that calibrated eyeball. We can all look at the TVs and go, wow, that's the one we want. And as time goes on, we'll end up being able to hopefully make a next generation of micro-LED TVs, including ones that are transparent, so see-through TVs. It's kind of cool.
That's amazing.
Ian Jenks is the chairman and CEO of Smartkem, their ticker symbol SMTK. Ian, how long was the time period from somebody saying, hey, I think we can do this, to actually doing it?
Well, I never said it was easy. So it was 10 years and about $100 million.
Wow.
And after that 10 years, $100 million, now we're seeing you sign MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, with RIT Display, a Taiwanese display manufacturer. This is a pretty big milestone here. Talk about that.
It is. So we've been working with RIT Display now for 3 years. We signed a joint development agreement followed by a technology transfer agreement. And this MOU is to work together to take one of their existing production lines and convert it into a production-ready line on which we can make prototypes for their customers utilizing our transistor technology.
Ian, I have to ask you, because every time we talk to you, you sort of tell us something's going to happen, then it happens, and obviously it has taken a bit to get here, but now you're sort of here, and it's a good place to be. So what's coming up in the future? I heard you when you were in studio, sort of saying you would hint about talking about a MIP. What's a MIP, and what does that mean for you guys in the future?
Okay, so what I've talked to you about is the route to commercialization, and I'm a great believer, take the easiest way possible. If you want to put micro-LEDs all over a TV screen, that's 25 million of them, and you've got to put 25 million transistors. And yes, we can solve that problem, but it takes time to take those sorts of things to the market. So the simplest thing you can do with a micro-LED is put them in groups of 4, and then you can use our technology actually to make that an individual thing. So it's a micro-LED in a package. And then you can use existing types of pick and place machines to make big signage displays. So it's just a way of getting into the market.
Hey, Ian, when you talk about commercialization, are we talking about B2B, B2C, or all the above, or does this change everything, including displays we see in major sporting events and so on and so forth?
So definitely the latter. So we hope it will literally change the world as you see it, and starting with big signage displays in sporting events and shopping malls and those sorts of things. And it's very for what we do. It's very much a B2B sale.
Wow.
So what would I call a brown bottle company? We sell buckets of, hopefully by the ton, buckets of polymer that are then processed on these production lines.
And how long do you think it'll be before we as consumers get to see the labors of the fruits of your labors?
Well, fingers crossed, maybe towards the end of next year.
Yeah, that's amazing. Wow. And then my next question is, since technology moves at the speed of light, you're sort of ahead of the game here, which I'm assuming the last 10 years you've been trying to catch up to, because technology, just right as you get there, technology changes again. That's a big piece of this, is it not?
It does. And, with any company, you're trying to time the arrival of your technology at a level of quality together with the demand for the market. And so if you look at the convergence of what we call backplane technology, which is the transistors that we make, together with the arrival of the micro-LEDs of a production quality and a price that matter, it's starting to happen now. And the forecast is there'll be micro-LED displays of between, depending on which report you read, between $4 and $12 billion worth over the next next few years.
Super fascinating watching this happen as he tells us what's going on. It's happening at the same time. Ian, always great to have you on.
Ian Jenks, Chairman, CEO, Smartkem, ticker symbol is SMTK. Much more of the Big Biz coming your way. Show rolls on. Thank you, everybody, for cluing in, tuning in. That is the DTT, Day Trader Trio. As I always say, my favorite band ever. Back here at the bar, it is Costa. It's our executive producer, Greg Todorov, and of course, Sully. Hi, Sully.
Good to see you. Who do we got next?
We have Mr. I'm sorry, were you addressing Greg or myself when you asked that question?
Just the minions that all are.
You got it.
That I am king of all I survey. I would like to, I hear that this is one of the coolest guests we've ever had.
I can't wait to talk to him.
All right. The name of the company is Realbotix.
Yeah.
Okay. Stock symbol is XBOT.
Uh-oh.
Are we looking at the wrong page?
No, I immediately see that Skynet is active.
Yep.
Just by their ticker symbol, XBOT.
Andrew Kiguel is the CEO, and he joins us now via Zoom. Andrew, how are you, sir? Good to see you.
I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
You sound like Hal 100, just your voice. Just going to say, because I wasn't looking up when you talked, it jarred me a little.
A little Hal there.
I'm just going to let you take it on top, from the very top, about robots in daily life. Is this something that's actually happening in our lives?
Yeah, so our company has a very different perspective to robots. While most of our peers are building robots to really replace physical human labor, we're viewing robots as, in a sense, to interact with people for human interaction. And that could be at a retail store, could be a concierge, and it can even be a companion for someone at their home.
So talk about real applications. Give us an example of something front and center.
I can give you lots. We recently sold a robot to a family that has an autistic son, and the robot is there to keep that person company. We have found that often people on the spectrum interact really well with AI. Our robots have a vision system, so they can recognize people, objects, and situations, and that's a way for the parents to even monitor and have some sort of protection with what their son is doing. Think about a retail store. Imagine you go in and a robot is there, can greet you, point you to where the t-shirts are, what's on sale, and keep an eye on people. If there's an incident of theft, they can also alert the owners of the store. And of course, think about entertainment. The market for entertainment robots is massive. It's going to be 100 million plus in the next few years. So consider museums and theme parks, which are some other areas that we have sold robots into.
Andrew, with the advancement in AI, as far as the programming of, and we'll use the family that bought the robot for their autistic child. As far as the programming,
is programming the same as programming?
I'm sorry, I'm putting the wrong
emphasis is
on the wrong syllable.
Andrew, I'm sorry, but how much easier has AI made it to program this?
Things have become a lot easier, and because there's so many companies out there that produce open source AI, we find that it's easy for us to sort of build on top of those. So we build sort of our conversational layers and our different pieces. So you can still use our AI and say, what was the GDP of the United States in 1950? But it can also recognize who you are. So, hi, Sully, how are you? How's your family? How are you feeling today?
Like the robot I was married to for 22 years.
Yes.
Can I ask you, talk about genuine connections? Because this turns to be a tongue-in-cheek thing. It's been the subject of many movies, but is it really a thing? I mean, you look no further than perhaps Wilson in the movie Castaway,
sure,
right? Which at this point is 40 years old. Probably a horrible analogy, but talk about that. Talk about the real human interaction and connectivity.
Well, let's take a step back and let's talk about loneliness. Loneliness is a worldwide epidemic. There's studies out that say anywhere from 25 to 50% of Americans suffer from loneliness, and that can lead to diabetes, cancer, strokes. And so in society today, it's absolutely possible that you can have these interactions with AI and robots that feel realistic and can sort of, I guess, soothe that loneliness dilemma that the world is facing right now.
If you think in terms of addressable market in real life right now, I can think the addressable market is probably is close to infinity 20 years from now. But right this second, what are you staring at in terms of addressable market, and how do you get to profitability by looking at maybe something that's cost prohibitive or time prohibitive, or even having to sell the idea of it? Talk about that.
Right. I think the market is massive, and you can give me almost any thing on the planet and I can give you a use case, but let's just talk about retail. We saw when we first presented our robots at CES, and our robots are open source, by the way, so you can run any type of AI on them. We got 4 billion media hits in the month of January. And in fact, we got connected to you because we had this Suzanne Summers robot at a conference a couple of weeks ago. So to me, any retail store on the planet could have a use for a robot, for security purposes, to build foot traffic, to elevate a brand. I think any museum or theme park in the world could use robots. Imagine going in and walking into a hotel and there's a concierge there, and you can say, hi, and it can say, hi, Sully, welcome back. And you can be like, can you please make a restaurant reservation at Centro for me tomorrow for people 7 o'clock? I'd like some extra pillows in my room. And the AI and the robot will communicate with you and get all that stuff done for you in the background. We're having conversations right now with some ticket kiosks in Vegas about setting up agents that will be able to talk to you. So, what shows are playing in Vegas tonight? Cirque du Soleil, other different shows. It can tell you about the shows, the ratings, and get you tickets. So, I mean, the use cases are really endless.
Andrew Kiguel is the CEO of Realbotix. Their ticker symbols XBOT and XBOTF. Andrew, can somebody call you and say, hey, I want the Angelina Jolie robot. How much is it going to cost me? Asking for a friend. Wink, wink. But can you do personal? You said Suzanne Summers, and she unfortunately is deceased. So can you make those types of robots for people?
The answer is yes, with permission. We don't want to tread over anything. But we, for example, had an inquiry from a famous religious group, and they wanted us to create a robot of their leader, and to replicate things like prayer hands. And they would use their own AI to talk about their religion. And so there's a perfect use case, and it's super easy to replicate somebody. You go to a laser scanner, you put your head in a box, it does sort of a 3D all around your face and sends us those dimensions, and we can create a mold out of that person's face. And in fact, we did that for Whitney Cummings a few years ago, and she created a robot head of herself that she used on a Netflix special.
Okay. Wow. So are you at commercialization now, or are you at sort of people dipping their toe in as you guys are still developing?
So most of the development is done. What we're doing now is trying to find the best ways to scale. We have not been advertising, but really there's just been influx of natural orders that have come in. I expect over the course of the next 12 months, we will start advertising and showing more revenue. But right now we're sort of at that stage of what's the most efficient way to build these robots at scale. But we are producing them. We're building 6 right now, and they are for sale if you go to the website.
Andrew, what about like animals or pets or things like that? Are there any requests like that?
Well, we thought about it. Our superpower, though, is making robots that look very human. You know, we have got this patented skin technology, like our synthetic skin is so realistic.
Okay.
The AI is based on sort of companionship and interaction. We thought about things like dogs, but I feel like that's a bit of a step back for what our real superpower is.
Okay.
I got to say, obviously we don't have enough time today, but we need to get you in studio. And
this is a whole show.
This really is. Andrew Kiguel is his name, CEO Realbotix. Andrew, will you come back on with us, because this is some fascinating stuff here, and I think.
What we've done before is, why don't you guys just do an interview with one of the robots? You don't need me.
I thought we just did.
I'm happy.
Come on.
You guys schedule an interview with one of our, one of our robots has their own social media, so we're happy to figure out a way to do that.
Andrew, can't wait. We'll set that up for next time. Andrew Kegel's his name.
Oh my God.
XBOT. Thanks, bud. Appreciate it. Good stuff. Really good stuff.
All right, keep it here. Much more to come with the Big Biz Show. Don't go anywhere. Inside the Loft 100 studios, we're just having a grand old time. So are they. That's the Day Trader Trio. I'm Costa. Our executive producers, Craig Todoroff, and of course, Sully.
As we wrap it up here on the program, good to see you. John Yu, by the way, is the CEO of a company called Kairos Pharma. KAPA is the stock symbol, and we're talking in the world of cancer drug resistance and immune suppression. And I give you John Yu. John, how are you, sir? Good to see you.
Good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Good. Hey, John, talk to us about the problem you're addressing, please. We've talked a lot lately with biopharma companies talking about immune suppression and cancer drug resistance. This is almost like the antibiotic sort of problem we're having in the world. I'm wondering if there's a parallel here.
Yeah, there's definitely a parallel. You know, there are a lot of drugs for cancer that work very effectively. The only problem is that they stop being effective after about 6 months or a year or 18 months. And what we're addressing as a company is when a patient becomes resistant to that drug, just like people become resistant to antibiotics if they've had too many antibiotics in the past. So we've developed a drug to reverse a very central mechanism of resistance that develops to several types of oncology drugs. And we're addressing large markets in prostate cancer and in lung cancer, and right now in the phase 2 and a phase 1 trial, and we're planning to move forward with head and neck cancer thereafter. But it's also relevant in breast cancer and colon cancer. So clearly a very central and important problem in cancer therapy.
John, when somebody becomes immune to the drug, as you said, within 6 months or a year, does that mean a completely whole new drug has to be introduced, or can the old one be tweaked and tried again?
Yeah, so that's what our drug does. We add our drug to the drug that's become resistant.
Okay.
And by targeting a protein that's on the surface that develops during this resistance, it reverses that resistance completely. So we allow that drug to work again as it did originally.
John Yu is the CEO of Kairos Pharma. Of course, their ticker symbol is KAPA.
If you want to talk about kind of an issue, this is one of the dirty little secrets in biopharma drug culture, where they don't want to talk about this, but they sort of have to. How do you get front and center to this? Because obviously patients want to know this. Drug delivery companies probably don't want to have to bring this up. But talk about sort of the adoption rate there.
Well, so I think that's a very good question. And I think the thing that makes us unique is that we make a plethora of drugs work again once they stop working. And so we're not really competing with large pharma companies. We're actually working with them to make their own drugs work when patients have become resistant to them, or when those drugs work incompletely on patients. So it addresses a very central problem in cancer therapy. And so, people may not address that, but, I think pharma companies will eventually have to address this, this impedance to their drug eventually.
Hey, John, talk about the Department of Defense partnership, I suppose you can call it. There's a funding of $600,000. Explain how that kind of connected with you.
Yeah, so that funds a second drug that we're developing for cancer drug resistance called ENV205, which is a partial antibody that targets mitochondrial DNA when patients have become resistant to different types of chemotherapies. And so this has been sort of the way we've advanced our company through federal grants from the Department of Defense, as well as NIH grants. And this has totaled over $25 million in the past. And so by using federal grants to develop our drugs and get it to clinical trial, we've really advanced the company through non-dilutive funding. And now that we're in large randomized clinical trials, like in prostate cancer, we thought that this was an important time to get into the public markets, and that's why we did an IPO onto NYSE, and why we're on the public markets today. Because now we need large amounts of money to get these large trials completed.
Sure. John, if you can, talk to us about adding the University of Utah.
Yeah, so that is a large university with an investigator that's really been central in moving the field of prostate cancer therapy forward. And so that institution is added to our present institution, Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, and the City of Hope, to rapidly enroll on our trials so that we can add patients in these 3 large clinical centers. We just recently announced, in fact, today, that we finished enrollment on the safety phase of the trial, and so we'll be reporting on the results of that, both safety and efficacy, beginning in the first half of 2025.
John, what does the rest of 2025 look for you guys? What are you most excited about?
So we are going to report on the interim safety data, on the interim efficacy data, and I think that will give us a very large hint on how this trial will progress towards its completion. And we're very interested in taking that and discussing it with pharma partners so that we can potentially partner this and some of our other assets with pharma companies at the appropriate time to co-develop this towards commercialization.
John, I got to tell you, it's obviously sounds promising. It's something that I've never even seen before, and at the same time, you seem to be at the right place at the right time, especially in terms of capital formation. You guys have the runway it's going to take to get this across the goal line, or is that part of the reason you went public?
Yeah, so we are going to be able to finish this trial. We have enough cash to last us through 2025 and into 2026. We will look for opportunistic times when there are catalysts to potentially raise more cash. Obviously, as a biotech company, you're always looking to raise additional funding for these large clinical trials. But I think we're in good shape, particularly right now as the markets are kind of in a little bit of disarray.
John, can't wait to have you back in the program.
John Hughes, CEO, Kairos Pharma, ticker symbol is KAPA. And that will do it for this edition of the Big Biz Show. To everybody who makes the show possible, thank you. And thank you most of all for tuning in. We'll see you next time. All right, I've got